moving on to day 2. There's only a few minor updates. I'm going to be swapping one unit of snipers out because I want to have 2 units with scope width burst for this battle, or this section of the battle. So, just replacing on and then doing a brief overview of casualties on day 1. Did pretty well, had a couple units that got hurt a little more than I'd like, but overall, very good shape coming out of day 1. I think I only took about 2,000 casualties, which is pretty decent for the method I was using. So these numbers don't tell us a whole lot. The numbers are different for... You don't really see the full battle size until the very end, so they aren't particularly useful throughout the battle. But so standard setup here, just walking down to flank the round tops. If you were going for a victory in another section, you probably could just set up here and not do anything. But, because I don't think many of the units here actually show up on day 3 or 4, but there's no real reason to it. You can get into a really good defensive position here, and you might as well bleed what you can. Though this is usually where you take the majority of your casualties. I think I come out pretty well, but somewhere between 4,000 to 8,000 here, depending on how things go. So I send the snipers first because you can get them there in time to start hitting the units defending Little Round Top. This definitely works even without the speed perks. You'll just get there a little bit later, but you do have to swing wide a little bit around the Union units that are sitting in the middle, but you can usually avoid walking through the swamp. And then once we get set up, we'll just defend that position till the timer runs out, and get whatever artillery we can, do as much infantry damage as we can. The trick is giving up the victory point at the end of the phase. Sometimes that can backfire a little bit. One thing to note here, a lot of times I've seen people that'll get to about this point and then they'll walk straight up the hill. I would not recommend that. Your units move so slow that I think it's actually faster to walk out and around the hill and then back up it, or sort of up from the backside rather than directly up this southern face here. I guess should have pulled 2 units and tested at some point, but from having watched them go up the hill, I'm pretty sure it's just slower. So I've got, so you can see I'm bringing 124 pounder early. I'll be using it to set up and break any early charges. And then I'm having some Tridagars come in, sort of a mixture of short and long range. I could have swapped in my 20 pounders here, but I wanted to get the Tridagars some experience because I'm trying to get some 3-star artillery that don't have the stealth perk, they have the damage perk instead. See, we drove off 1 unit. That's usually about what you can get. Sometimes you can get Vincent, but usually not. For whatever reason, he's deciding to go over to Big Round Top. I don't think he usually does this, but... So I'm sending out some skirmishers just to try and... I'm not sure where he's going at the moment. I don't want him getting too far into the middle of the hill, so I'm just sort of sending him there until my infantry catches up. Part of the reason, even though I want to end up giving up the victory point, is that I want to hold it for most of the battle, is because the vision point is there, and that vision point, basically, if you have that point, you can see pretty much anything that's going on in the battle. So I'm going to end up losing it back and forth a few times, but if you can keep that, then you can see the enemy artillery and see where the infantry is coming up. Otherwise, it's like as you can see, north of Little Round Top right now, you basically can't see anything. So we've got our extra units coming in. This is probably my largest mixture of 1-star units in a because I am going to take pretty heavy casualties here, considering my force size. So I'm starting to move one sniper down so I can hit the units in Devil's Den from the flank. Sometimes there's an artillery unit down there that you can hit, but it doesn't seem to be there this time around, so if there's one down there, then you definitely want to send the snipers down there to get rid of it. So I'm setting up most of my infantry, or I guess the second half of my infantry, to prepare for, I think it's Sedgwick's Corps that comes in. Goal being that we want to hit it as it comes in off the board edge, and it will wipe that entire section out. So I start to send skirmishers down and to try and get down there and flank the units in the Devil's Den, but you can see I get spotted and infantry charges, so I just back off from there. So this is the last three. This is another scenario where the deploy percentages don't work out in your favor, so you only get your first 3 divisions worth, even if you bring 24 units. But it's enough. So you do want to be careful about when you're setting up your, when you're organizing your setup, you want to make sure, I prefer to make sure that I don't really have too much artillery coming in at the very end with those last 3 units, which requires some manipulation to, I think I have to go look again, but basically I think I put some junk skirmishers or junk artillery to pad out that division, because otherwise, because I wanted to bring 1 artillery unit, but I wanted to bring 2 infantry units, and so I have to move stuff around so that the artillery unit is the 3rd unit in the division. The reason I want the 2 infantry is it helps a little bit in terms of managing the Sedgwick reinforcements, and also it lets me get skirmishers onto these vision points, which are very useful until you can reliably capture the Little Round Top victory point. I guess I have it right now, but once these reinforcements start coming in, I'm going to end up losing it a couple times. So, brought the snipers over to hit the artillery, and then I'm going to try and finish it off with the Tretigars. And then have the snipers working on any artillery they can hit. And my goal here with the 2 units in the wheat fields is, like, I don't really want to have them directly fighting units if I can avoid it, because the reinforcements all are aiming towards the victory point. So if you back off, they will repath and try and get to the victory point as opposed to really engaging you. So you can get free flank shots, and little things like that will save you a lot of casualties in the long run. And I get lucky, and most of the infantry decides to go up as opposed to coming into the wheat field. It's another reason you don't want to be too far forward. You can get into a firefight with there in the forest, and you're not. You're just in the field. But this way I can get my snipers into range to hit that artillery. If there's infantry a little closer, you can't go up that far. So at this point, I probably should have swapped out 9.1 rifle with one of the units guarding Big Round Top, just to spread out the casualties a little bit more. So it looks a little better once you return the skirmishers, but a few of the units are going to take decently heavy losses. I'm a little light on infantry for really managing all of this. So, second set of reinforcements. Anytime you can get them to charge up the hill here, it's great. It is horrendous terrain to try and walk up. So I'm in a really good spot that I'm not seen with my snipers. These guys are starting to catch up. I was a little late on doing this. You want to try and, if you can, you want to try and always catch them before they drop out of the column. It's one of the things you can do to speed units up a little bit is click past the point you want your unit to arrive at, and then they'll stay in column and get the speed bonuses. And then you just have to get there in time to actually stop them where you want them to stop. Pulling the snipers out so I can get that artillery. We've got a few more minutes until the reinforcements arrive. Or the last set. Pulling another unit over to deal with that. So while we're waiting, I recalculated my kill ratios up through Gettysburg, and doing pretty well. We dropped a little bit, or no, so we went up, if we just calculate all casualties, we went from a 4.4 post-Antietam to a 4.8. That makes sense. We have far fewer free units that we're getting killed off. And then our overall ratio dropped from I think an 8.2 down to a 7.3, which again makes sense. You know, more of the casualties are coming from our own units now, but overall still doing very well. So beginning to stack up on Little Round Top, just as the other reinforcements come in. So I'm trying to shift fresh units in to deal with that massive infantry up there. You know, it's all 3 stars, so even though I'm in cover and they're not, it's going to hurt. Managed to get the supplies. It's always nice because supplies here are 10k as opposed to 5k. So nice return on investment. I could be using the snipers here to hit the reinforcements. Maybe that would be the better choice, but I just see the opportunity to get rid of that artillery up there and figure I'm going to take it. So I don't want to hit the reinforcements too early, just because if I do, then I'm going to be more in the open when I fight them, and there's enough infantry and artillery there that you're going to take losses. So I let them spread out a little bit. Some of them go north, some of them go to the west, and then I can rush my units up real quick and get hits on the artillery. Starting to get overwhelmed around the round tops. I should be shifting 11-4 right now. So that it can hit Zook, bringing a 3rd unit up there, driving off the artillery to the north, and getting some really good crossfire in the middle here. Now the tricky part to managing this section is they want to retreat north, but their artillery is all to the south, so you're usually trying to press units in from the south to get rid of the artillery so it's not shooting you anymore, but if you do that it forces them north, and that's you get to a stage where you get caught between their units in the north and the routing units. So I'm trying to get infantry in there so they don't come in, but I still end up forcing them north a little bit when I go after the artillery down there. Finally got the 24-pounder up. It's hard to get that artillery unit up there in time, but I can't justify bringing it in earlier because you're just so short on infantry brigades with, you know, because I'm bringing those Tretagars and stuff. Arguably, maybe you ditch the Tretagars and take the artillery casualties and just bring in more 24-pounders, and then that'll make this section a little easier. So you can see here, now they're all routing north, which is bad, and they just don't rebound as fast as I'd like them to. I go back down again a little bit, but I have to bring the snipers over to start dealing with the infantry because, you know, if that little tiny unit charge in, don't know what's going on there morale-wise, but getting driven back, trying to swap in fresher units because a couple of these units are taking real heavy casualties. I don't really ever like to see units drop much below 900 if I can avoid it. But we've got the bottom situation contained, so I can start pulling units from there, which is going to help. Should have moved the ammo wagon earlier to get to the snipers. But overall, it's going real well. You know, we've got bottom contained. We've almost got this stuff driven back in the north again. Getting the snipers on those units that are starting to flank definitely helps. Pulling back the units that got beaten up real bad. So I think this is a mistake. I move forward so I can hit that artillery, because I feel like I should have enough room that they're going to still ping pong back and forth. But they definitely don't, and I get myself in trouble because I did that. So tried to see if I can go into the trees. Definitely can't. Now I'm in trouble. That unit got hit. They can see my snipers. I have to bail. So pull everything out. And see, this is why you don't want them routing north, because now I'm getting into area where if I'm going to back up and I'm going to get shot in the back by other units coming down. So finally got rid of the artillery, which is good, but you know, now we're in this situation where I have to run 10-4 up to try and cover, because they can see the supply wagon, they can see the troops, so the infantry's going to be coming down. You see the charge coming. Although maybe that charge was triggered at 10-4, and that's who they do seem to be targeting, so maybe if I'd just ignored the situation, I would have been safe. Hard to say. But if I'd waited until one of those units came down and got into the trees, then I would have been in really big trouble. I think I would have had to give up the contain entirely and let those units rout. Yeah. So now I'm trying to get Brewster out of there. I can turn that unit around, but you know, 9-1's taking really heavy losses now. Trying to figure out how to solve this problem at the moment. Luckily, Fisher is morale shocked and not hitting 11-2 in the flank, but almost got the reinforcements wrapped up, and then we'll be fine again. But you know, probably took an extra 500 casualties right there in that moment, because I moved that one unit up to try and get that artillery a little sooner. So the good part here is we're about an hour left. We've mostly broken their attacks, and they have little round top. Not worry about that. So I charge in, hoping to get some capture of some kind. Nope, shatter. I'm on another streak where I'm just not getting any surrenders, which is a little unfortunate. It'd be nice to, you know, if I'd had a couple more battles where I'd captured 500 or so and got the extra recruits, that would have been convenient. I'm still not really worried about my manpower, but I'm definitely at the point where, like, okay, I have enough weapons that I can put more. I have more weapons than I can put men in the field right now, which is not really a situation I like to be in, even though I don't usually need that many men, but I'm just sort of looking ahead to some of the larger battles where it's like, okay, this is a little tight. Not concerned. I'm pretty sure I could, with enough finagling, you could still beat Washington with only like 70-80k, but I'd really prefer not to have to try and do that. So this is something I didn't realize could even happen, and is pretty much a perfect situation. For whatever reason, the control area for the vision point is larger than the control area for the victory point. So once I clear out some of this infantry, I'm going to be sitting basically perfect where they can't see, or I'll have the vision point, but I won't have the victory point, which is just perfect because I don't actually want to win here. Only because I want to go on to the later days and show that off and kill more artillery. Basically, I'm farming 20-pound parrots. You know, as you can see, if I push forward at all, it would be extremely easy to just win the battle here. This is, in the past, this is what I've always done to get a victory at Gettysburg, is I'll just push forward, hold that point, kill anything that comes to me, and then call it good. Arguably, maybe that's the better choice, but I take very few casualties in the next few phases, so maybe it's worth it. I don't know. Up to you. So I think once we get that last unit, I'm a little vulnerable with that artillery there, but you know, morale shock everything before it gets to me. I'm moving the artillery over because I want to get it further to the north so I can hit those units that I'm exposing now. But we have so little time left that it doesn't end up really happening. But get a few extra shots. I think I get the vision point back soon. Yeah, there it is. One of those units decided to go west for some reason, and you know, if I'd been able to maintain that a little bit longer, or a little bit earlier, but there you go. That's day 2. And I think we took about 4,000 casualties, which is outstanding for this phase. And I'll be back with Culp's Hill.